Hello, everyone. Pleasure to be here. How do you like the title? Great, isn't it? Where's your sandwich? Let's see if we can get one. So I will be talking about some of the tools that we have in the toolset today, specifically with IntelliJ. I will not be talking about the latest advancements. Rather, I will be focusing on something that is already a commodity that should be kind of given when you use the tools. And since it's a live coding talk, like that's kind of my title slide, and I have the other slide to refer to. And I actually want to start with a diagram that I have created for you to explain what kind of tools and what is the assistance that you can get from the AI tooling today, starting from the very minimal assistance levels till the very max that we have in the IDE. So we can put them on the scale, like from the minimal to maximum. And when we start from the left-hand side, the very minimal assistance that you can get today is auto-completions, right? And actually there is a range of completions in the IDE. The sound is turning on and off. Yeah? Okay. So the minimal meaning that literally you know what you are doing, you know what kind of code you want to write. You don't want the tool to get in a way in any, in any moment. You just need to amplify your speed and just to feel, augmented by the tooling itself. This is the toughest feature to demonstrate in the IDE. So it works when nobody's watching. As soon as someone is watching, it doesn't manifest. So I asked the team to provide me with diagnostic tools to actually visualize how it works, and we're gonna jump into the IDE and try to challenge it and see what is happening under the hood of the IDE when I'm typing something in the editor. So I have a simple project here. It's in Spring and Kotlin. The Java part is deprecated for a reason. And we have just a single controller right there and a few implementations of this interesting interface, the algorithm. I'm going to implement the new one. It's just a demo code, but it's used for demonstrating the actual feature in the IDE. So let's implement the new interface that is going to find something from a set of points. The closest point to centroid, something like this. There will be a list of points provided as an input, and as a result, I want a list with one point only that is going to be the closest to the center. To demonstrate how the the completion works, first of all, the inline completion that I'm going to demonstrate is bundled inside the IDE, provided by the full line completion plugin. It's local. It doesn't use the cloud models. It's tailored for the specific languages. So whatever I have checked in the settings actually causes to download a 100 megabyte small language model that is tailored specifically only for full line completions and for that specific language. I have disabled the cloud completions as well so that it doesn't get in the way for now. And the other thing I want to open is the diagnostic tools. So this panel demonstrates what is happening as I'm typing, and I will focus your attention to that panel as well when we see the results, right? So if I need to find a central point, like to implement this method, for instance, I'm typing here, and as you can see, there is a completion that is already suggested in my case. So I probably want to check what is the size of this collection that I get as an input. And the ID, or the completion, tells me that the probability that you want to get this line is 13%, which is actually pretty high. So the completion passes a lot of stages, going through the model, ranging, calculating some grades on the results. There is a local filtering model that tries hard not to provide you with a irrelevant completion. So the completion for this model is very reserved. We would rather not to show you anything than get in the way, because it's a very intimate UX problem. The use case is that you, as a professional, you know what kind of code you are typing, and we should not provide you something that is completely irrelevant. It's a very hard problem, but well, with some success, we are providing you some of the relevant suggestions. We can accept those tokens one by one, or just the full line as it's suggested. For instance, I don't want to accept it completely till the end of the line, and what I want to do is to return the coordinates. Now the probability that I want to return coordinates as is even higher. You will see that this probability can get almost to 100% in some cases, especially when it's a repetitive code. Okay, so looks pretty good. What do we need? We need to find a central point, like a virtual center of all the coordinates that we have. Centroid x equals the coordinates is a good idea, but the rest of it I don't want to see. So I need all the coordinates from all the x coordinates, and then an average. Looks good. See, now it's a repetitive code. I was working with the x coordinate, now it's a y coordinate, and since it's pretty predictable here, the probability that this is the line I'm looking for is already 91%. This is very nice. Now, how this completion works, it doesn't take into account anything that is below cursor. It doesn't take into account any of the comments that you have. Maybe you have a huge Kotlin doc stanza in the file, and it will not go into the model because the model needs to be very fast. It's very small, so it only takes into account what you have above the cursor and some of the open files, names and signatures, and that's it. Nothing else. So we cannot really guide the completion here with some meta information that would be nice to have. For instance, if I accept this completion, find a minimal by the sum of coordinates. And this is where this completion will not help me, because the comments are ignored. What I want to get instead, if I prefer this kind of style, I want to enable the cloud completion, which will take into account much more information and assemble much wider context for this kind of completion. So we are getting into the second stage. The second stage in the AI-assisted programming scale, where we kind of know what we want to get, but we either are lazy or we want to guide the tool with a natural language. We still know what we want to get. We have the control over this. We are letting some of the control go because we are not typing every character, but we can still accept the suggested paragraphs or suggested snippets, either word by word or line by line or at once. Let's try that. Let's see how it works. We still can see this diagnostic panel. Now the model is enabled for the cloud completions, and find the closest point from the coordinates list that is, no, English is hard. The point, find the point that is closest to the centroid coordinate. Yeah, something like this. When I hit enter, I expect the model to provide me something, but, well, you're watching, someone is watching, it doesn't provide me, but now I have a proof why it didn't work, right? It decided that this completion is probably, the relevance of this completion is not high enough, so we still don't want to get in a way. Well, I insist. Let's try typing coordinates, and as you can see, it now decided, haha, you're definitely looking for this. I had it previously, and the probability that you now want this is even higher, almost 100%. I'm pretty sure it's correct. I don't know why it suggested the let operation in there. Yeah, cool. This is what I wanted to get. In fact, I can almost let's skip this. Yeah, we have this nice to-do function in Kotlin. When we don't want to complete something, you can just use that to keep the completion. What if I want to generate the full functions using this completion? For instance, I want an extension function, something like a utility, extension function to split a list of lists of split a list of elements into a list of lists of elements by an example element. So this is like a non-trivial utility function already. This is something that we don't have in the standard library, and sometimes you need this. And well, as you can see, the completion provided exactly, well, not exactly the code I wanted, but very close. And the probability is still high. So what I can do here is, obviously the snippet of code is much longer than 1 or 2 or 3 lines. I would spend some effort, put some effort into understanding it. I can accept this line by line, or like token by token, or again line by line, or just whatever was suggested in one tab. It's not complete. I can still ask it to generate the rest by triggering the completion at the very end. So I get this output much faster than if I was typing it under my full control. But this is again like, how much control do you want? How much do you know how you want to implement it? Or you just are okay with some initial solution provided by the model very quickly and move on with the challenge that you have at hand right now. It might not be perfect, and this is where we can get into more assistance levels, like on the next stage, in editor code generation with minimalistic prompts. So either it's almost the same as getting the multi-line completion, but this is where the mechanics of providing this assistance is already different. I could have typed the same prompt as we had here, like this, and as you can see, it's recognized in line. If I hit tab, it will just start generating pretty much the same code, but instead of providing it as a completion, it would generate a patch. This is not exactly what I want to do in this case, but I can do something with this function, for instance, and ask it to rewrite split function into a in a functional style, maybe. Sorry? Okay. So I'm asking to do something with the code, right? And I get a patch. The difference here is now that the patch can affect multiple places in my file. It can actually introduce new functions. It can modify the shape of the class, adding new members into the class and so on. And therefore, we kind of giving some of the control away and asking for more assistance again. Let's accept the solution. Looks nicer, I think. But this is not only the thing that you can do, like just asking to generate the code. You can ask, trigger some of the other actions that we have built into the IDE. For instance, asking to generate the documentation, for instance. So as you can see, we are relying more and more on this tooling, and even going out of this current location by generating a unit test for this specific function. A good question to ask here would be, how do we know that the test is correct? Because it's not executed. And to me, it's still a big mystery that sometimes, because what is the point of tests? To either secure your current implementation or ensure the coverage, right? And the model does not execute the test to get the coverage, so it doesn't know how much it covers. And if you ask the models directly to generate the code that will provide maximum coverage, the models don't know that they are providing that. They're just generating the code to the best of their abilities. And to get the coverage, you actually need to proceed to the further stages of assistance, where we can have the additional tooling that can provide this loop by calling the tools, evaluating what is the coverage for the current test suite, and then add more and more tests. Okay, so we are somewhere in the middle. What is the next stage? Chat-assisted programming. We are almost there. We haven't seen the chat yet. We have been doing the completions and asking for some actions and generating the code right in the editor. But there are some situations where I might need to do something extraordinary out of the predefined workflows that we have in the IDE and start actually talking to the model by asking questions. For instance, I could ask to explain the code, maybe the whole file, and it goes into the chat. Currently, it's executing in code base off mode, so it doesn't actually request for additional information from the project, which is not the ideal solution right now. It actually, the team is actually working on enabling this code base mode by default in the next release, but we can get, it on manually for now and ask more questions about this code. Is this the most efficient implementation? Provide alternatives. So we can ask questions about the code, ask for alternatives, ask for the patches, improvements, ask for more code to be generated, and as this progresses, our role is being the agent. We are the agent. We decide what kind of questions to ask from the model, what kind of code to be integrated into the project, what tests to run, what to roll back, and so on. So we are the coding agent in this situation, and we are just using the tools that are provided by the IDE or the plugin supported by the LLM model. That is, you can select any of them, and depending on your choice, you might have different results. So it's a trade-off between the quality and the cost very often. Of course, it can be done with local models, but local models are okay for generating the code, especially if it's a boilerplate. They are not so good in keeping tooling in the loop when you need to verify the results as well. So this is where Claude, Google, or OpenAI excel. With this, we are getting to the next stage into agent-assisted programming, where we are not the agent anymore. We are not deciding what tests to run, when, and so on. We are rather like a supervisor or director of the workflow that we want to, we guide the tool with the prompts. What do we want to achieve and how? And in fact, there are two stages in this model or in this workflow. Something that we call as directive programming, because we want to be on the professional side and actually operate with technical terms, saying that, hey, implement or refactor this function into less complex implementation, or extract or introduce a service layer on my application, configure database persistence, and so on. So we are operating in technical terms. And on the latter stage, there is another area that is commonly called as vibe coding, which is getting a lot of bad connotation and for misunderstanding. So the original author of this term was meaning that you disconnect from the code and start operating in functional requirements, and people actually, of course, they misunderstood. It was amplified by social media that, oh, now we can just specify vague requirements and get something out of it, with some disastrous situations like anecdotally spread out. This is not what it was meant to be. Still, you still have to think in functional requirements and be pretty precise if you want to get a good result out of it. For this, we have another plugin that is currently installed in my IDE. It's called Tuni. In fact, by the end of the year, I think you will see an explosion in appearance of different agents, even by JetBrains. We already have two, and maybe we'll have more. But the UX around those might hide the fact that there are a lot of agents. And you actually, as a user, you don't have to think about it. They will be tailored for the specific tasks, the specific situations, workflows, and so on, so that you don't need to think that which agent to choose. The tooling will choose that for you. So what can we do here? And people often ask about my workflows with the agents, and actually we have a lot more time to explore specifically the agentic workflows today. This specific project, as you can see, it's, as I mentioned, it's a Spring project with Kotlin and some of Java. Let me remove the code that I was writing so that it doesn't get in the way. Normally, my benchmark for any of the agents is asking a very simple question. Please create me a list of tasks to improve the project. So analyze the code base, identify areas for improvement, create a detailed list of actionable improvement tasks, and save it as an enumerated task list into a file with the placeholders, blah, blah, blah. And I want to be very insistent on getting the technical outcome out of it, not just a vague requirements that, implement login to the application. This is what any model can provide to you, but I want to get the specific information, how to do something and in which order. And I will not execute this prompt right now because I have executed it previously. And the result of it, this is what I want to demonstrate, is this actionable list of tasks. Some of them might still be too vague, right? For instance, can we find something? So UI usually is probably a good example for this kind of things. It lists a number of requirements which are seemingly technical, but they are not precise at all. They are not listing what framework I want to use on the front end, how do I want it to be set up, which development tool, should it be in some folder, and so on. And this is for you to check. Currently, it's a checklist, right? And every checkbox can be refined into more details as you go. But if you don't have this in mind, if you don't have an idea how to set up the front-end project structure yourself, you can ask the agent to implement only this task at some particular stage, or suggest how to approach that and get a result, or like the response, analyze it and confirm that yes, I want it to be implemented this way, and proceed further. So this is how you probably should be approaching those tools today, I think, directing them what to do exactly to get a better result and not spend 2 hours on one workflow, 2 hours on the other workflow, and throw 80% of the code away. It's not a productivity boost in this case. Where was I? So yeah, I generated this task list, and I actually tried executing it by providing a prompt. I will show it right now. So implement a service layer for the Kotlin implementations of the algorithm, deprecate Java implementation, and migrate the Kotlin to the Kotlin implementations. So I have, at first stage, I have this checklist. And now I didn't go into the checklist, and I didn't tell the agent to execute on that. I have it somewhere on the side. Instead of that, I provided a prompt to do something, like according to my idea. This is where I want to start. But in the settings, in the guidelines for the agent, this is .juni guidelines.md file that is discovered by the agent by default. I have some principles or guidelines how to work with the tasks. Right? I have described them in a textual form, but to the best of my abilities. What should be done with the tasks, what should you do with the task when it's completed, and so on. And because those guidelines are discovered by the agent, at the end of the work that I submitted for this specific prompt, it decided, aha, it seems that whatever work I just did matches with the task list that you generated previously, and I have an instruction to uncheck those tasks as upon completion. So currently, Kotlin migration is marked as completed. Well, let's inspect what has happened in the application. So first of all, I asked it to implement the service layer. Right, the service layer didn't exist. We can actually check the log. At first, when I submitted the prompt, the agent generated a plan, one by one, what should be done. So it's already a good indication for me where the agent will go. I would not have to spend time waiting if the plan doesn't match my expectations. I would rather stop the agent and correct my prompt. Then I can see that the agent was working, discovering the structure, checking out the sources, and discovering what to change. And it started introducing new components into my application, suggesting that, well, the service could be implemented. That's the interface. We can have the implementation as well. And that service is going to be like a router for dispatching the different types of the filters or the algorithms in my application. So the controller needs to use that service. Of course, then it can be provided as a parameter for DI, and it implemented a few some new entry points into my application. For instance, I can select the type of the algorithm for the execution when I'm working with the application. So the result was that we migrated off the Java implementation. The algorithm got deprecated, documented, and so on. And while the whole thing was progressing, at the very end, the agent would automatically start verifying what code it was generating. If the code is not scoring too well, it can roll it back, regenerate again, try it multiple times as soon as it gets the best scoring for the generated code, and then validate the whole solution using the tests. Again, this is where we can guide the tools as much as possible to the best of our abilities. We can tell the tool to work in a test-driven way. So generate the tests first. A good test-driven development workflow would imply that the test would fail. Then generate the other part of the code to satisfy the test, and so on. So it's going to go into the loop, execute those tests automatically, and see if they fail, modify the code. At the very end, we get to a stage where no more tooling calls are happening, and the model responds that it seems that you have implemented everything that you asked for, or the number of loops has exceeded the provided configuration limit. Usually it's around 20 to 35 calls in one session, and then it could stop, and then you can ask it to continue. So, for instance, our task list is not implemented. We can ask it to continue, and normally what I do, I don't tell it to implement everything. Go and implement everything. This is something where you lose the control over the tool. Rather, you would have to tell it exactly, hey, continue implementing the tasks from the task list, and ask it to do a specific section in the task list. And as you can see, it will analyze. Yeah, it takes some time. Maybe the connection is a little slower, but it will take some time, and eventually we will get a plan. Yeah, here it is. That we can inspect, but the agent is already working. It is already analyzing something or preparing for code generation, and but we can work in those chunks, right, where we have checkpoints and reviews in between those sections. Now, did you have to review the code generated by an agent? Any of you? Yeah? How much of code did you generate, and how much code how much time did you spend reviewing this code? Or you just said, okay, it looks good. Sorry? Keep merging. We'll see. We'll see. If the test pass, maybe. Well, one of the outcomes of this kind of workflows, when the tests are failing constantly and you're working with a new tech that the LLM doesn't know about, could be that after a few iterations, when the tests are failing, the model will mark the tests as ignored and make them pass. Probably not the best situation to be in. But if you see agent going rounds, this is probably, well, you have to understand that this is just like a simple tool, right? It's complicated, but it's simple. It's dumb. It's a hectic monkey. So you shouldn't believe what it's doing. Instead, if it doesn't do what you expect, you should step back and correct your prompt. Set more precise expectations, what you want to achieve and how. Because we can instruct the model to do very precise steps. For instance, as you start the work, create a new branch with a timestamp, do all the work only in that branch, and so on. This kind of instructions work if you're insistent enough. What doesn't work really well with those agents is instructing what not to do. Instead, if you have this situation when you want to instruct the model what not to do, think of how you can phrase the same requirement as what to do or what must to do. This works better by the statistics. So we can see the model just generating the code. It changes. What does it do? Like it tries to introduce new components in my application. Currently, we are not going to review that. It's just a little boring. Instead, I would like to get your questions. Maybe you have something to ask, yeah? Oh, there is
hey, I have a question. So for the stuff that you do now, how much you pay for those cloud models that are now interpreting all of this?
To be fair, I don't know.
Okay.
A more detailed answer is currently the execution is using Claude Sonnet 3.7 model. Of course, as a middleman, we have a special deal on the pricing, but it's not more than that, right? So.
Yeah, I'm asking because there are a lot of operations that are sent to the API and it looks expensive.
Yes, like all the agents are very chatty. So if you think that you can get away with the same price as just using the LLM chat, where in the situation, in the workflow where you are the agent, here it will burn your credits much, much faster, like 5, 6, 7 times faster.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, hands are.
I was wondering about the AI features of JetBrains. Where do you see yourself in the competitive landscape? What are your strengths or opportunities for improvement?
Probably the most obvious strength is the integration with the platform. In fact, we were lagging behind on the market for a while, specifically for the complexity of the platform itself. So IntelliJ is a huge legacy platform with a lot of history behind it, and we had to adjust the platform to provide those APIs for the AI capabilities that were unseen 2 years ago, right? So currently the platform has reached a point where we have those APIs and we can move faster. A lot of requested features that are already in the competitor products, specifically for completion, are not visible yet, but I know they are already in nightly builds, so you can anticipate us catching up with the market with your favorite ID, of course.
Thanks.
Yeah. There is another question.
Hi, I noticed Brave mode was checked. What is that?
A very good question. Thank you for that. So we have different modes. The code mode, ask mode, and brave mode. let's start from the the simplest one before we answer your question. Ask mode is just for asking the questions that in the agentic workflow would mean that the agent would have to discover something and call additional tooling to provide you the answer. For instance, what are I could ask the agent in the context of my project, analyze the code base and tell me how much effort is to implement the persistence layer, right? So to go back and forth into the project, maybe execute a few calls into the LLM and provide me the summary without actually doing anything yet. If I switch to the code mode, this is like a signal to the agent to start doing something, or even with the same prompt, it would start actually modifying my project with a very high probability. And for doing that, it will use the tools that we provide from the platform, but we cannot provide any tool that you can think of for modifying the code or for working with the project, right? So for some things, for quicker discovery, for instance, in the project, like in a huge code base, it's easier to generate some kind of a terminal command, like grep, for instance, or some command that will go into the terminal. And those commands might not be very safe. So if I have the Brave mode unchecked for every such command, I would have to confirm. You can modify the file, you can move the file, you can execute this command, and so on. So I'll be constantly confirming. The Brave mode, well, I'm feeling lucky, right? I want to let the agent do the work, even if it has to remove something from my project. There are some interesting stories on Twitter on that. Not specifically with Juni, but some other tools. Yeah, there is a question.
Thank you for a very interesting presentation. I'm using IntelliJ for maybe more than 20 years, and I'm really happy the direction you're moving. So my first question is, you're using Claude Sonnet as LLM. Is this like a best choice for the Kotlin, Java?
In the context of Juni, right? It's currently Claude Sonnet. In AI Assistant, we can choose the models, right? The next version of Juni will come with a model selector, but still the choice is very limited for Claude Sonnet 3.7 and 4.0. And the reason is that we don't want to sacrifice, or the team doesn't want to sacrifice the quality for the agent workflow, because it's very dependent on the model. A lot of people are asking whether or not they could use local models for agents. I assure you, local models are good enough for just one-off code generation. They are very bad for agentic workflows currently. They are not calling or providing the tool calls for the most part. And to get this quality that you can get something out of the agent, you still need to rely on the big model providers. There are some other options, right? Google 2.5, OpenAI models. The team is constantly running the evaluations and checking if those models can also provide good enough results within the workflow of this agent. So far, they were not very successful, so therefore we are not providing them.
You mentioned like local model used for completions, which is a simple model. Is there nothing in between, like JetBrains with all your expertise? You're not planning to do your own like code-focused LLM?
We have two, right, or a few blends of that, mostly for completion. And that's already a huge investment. We are not such a huge company as those corporations, and we don't have VC backing to implement that. So not yet.
Okay.
Not that I
Thank you
know
so much.
about. Maybe behind the closed doors they are actually doing it. So I don't know.
And my final point, well, I have more, but that just for now. The size of context. My experience is that, well, with the just a few bunch of files, it kind of works okay. If there's a code base of when you change a class and it has an impact of across the code base, it can be not that efficient anymore. So do you have this like margin to where it starts like being slow and not really giving you results? You won't hallucinate.
Very good question, very obvious one. Always reminds me of this 64 kilobytes will be enough for everybody comment ages ago. Well, yes, everybody is limited by the context window and everybody needs to do something about it. Like different agents have their own different strategies. Juni on the background monitors the context window, and if it can fit the information. If it goes out of the context window, we need to do something, and that something is smart summarization of the history. You can apply different strategies for that. You can ask the user to cut off. You can do a sliding window. You can cut more older information or cut something in the middle. We use the LLM to summarize. I don't know the system prompt, so I cannot tell you exactly how it summarizes, but yes, so we do something about it. More questions? Yeah.
Hey, hi. Thank you for the presentation. I was wondering, you used a cloud model in your configuration, and I was wondering how it works. Are we pushing those code repository to the cloud, some cloud environment? Then how the enterprises like ING, who have their proprietary code, are going to feel about it?
That's a very good question. How does ING feel about it? Well, that was an obvious reaction a few months ago, but by any company. Hey, can we use local models? There are local models. Let's try that. The reality is that the quality is not there. It will not work. And then running the top tier models will cost you a leg and a kidney. And everybody now realize that keeping the data inside is not going to be, it doesn't pay out very well. So the current trend is to host those top tier models in the cloud, like Amazon Bedrock or Azure. And well, a lot of companies would say anything but OpenAI, because now apparently they have to store your data, as the law says. But this is something we are looking into. We don't have the solution yet. We do work on the on-prem solution so that you could like infrastructural solution for managing this kind of connections and provisioning stuff, but it's not rolled out yet. So, but we know about the problem. Yes, we don't have something to show you right now.
Hi.
Hey.
My question is time-wise. No doubt that you can write the code much faster with this director mode, but then you need to spend more time on code analysis, code review, and actually maybe have few iterations. And does it pay out in terms of development time? And of course, long-time support.
Great question. If you do wipe coding, then you have to check everything as if it's written by someone else. If you do directive coding, you keep yourself in the loop, right? You are checking much smaller chunks. It's more like psychological and probably sociological and social problem to have, not really a technical one. How do you work with your teammates? How do you work with junior developers? Do you believe your teammates to generate good enough code? Probably yes, because they are human, or maybe not, like depends on your team, right? Here I would say the default should be that no, you shouldn't trust, and maybe we will be developing a new discipline of gatekeeping and quality gates for this kind of code and even executing this code. So I don't know. But regarding the productivity, so the assistant levels were going from the left to right, but the levels of control are exactly the reverse, right? So the more you want to keep in the control, the less productive you are actually in reaching to the final goal. And in fact, with the agentic workflows, if you can give away this control desire, you can actually get the result faster. Now, the question will be the quality, of course. I think today these tools are very good for prototyping, especially in the startup area where you have 1 week to test the idea. And the prototype just shouldn't stay. Like in a week, you will throw it away. You don't have time to develop it for 6 months and then test for another 6 months. Everything will change. So a huge portion of the industry is actually using those tools for quick testing of the business ideas, and it could accelerate the business. It's not about generating the code as fast as possible. It's about testing the ideas as fast as possible. I hope it answers your question. Yeah, more? Yeah.
IntelliJ itself is, of course, a huge code base. So how do you eat your own dog food within JetBrains? I'm just curious if you have some ideas. How are you using these tools?
I will have to ask the real developers. I'm not the real one. As far as I know, some developers can utilize these tools for some of the tasks, but IntelliJ is such a unique project, so that they told me that they are not getting a lot of benefits on that code base. Yeah. Thank you for asking all the questions, and enjoy the rest of the day.